this is held in a Zoom webinar format. Everyone who joins will be, muted and promoted up to attendees as required for the various hearings. Please note that it is being audio and video recorded. So as always, act accordingly. All votes are going to be taken by a roll call, and Andrea and myself have been given designated signing authority on the decisions. Any other important things I'm missing here, Rory and Andrea? All right. So first up, one of our favorite groups in town, we've got an Eagle Scout project proposal on the Poquanticut management area presented by Owen Eldridge. And Owen, go ahead and take it away when you're ready.
You can share your screen whenever you're ready. Cool.
Oh, and hang on, we're having a little bit of trouble hearing you. I can hear you now.
All right, sounds good.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Yeah, so my name is Owen Eldridge. I am 16 years old and entering my junior year at Oliver Ames. And I started my Eagle Scout project with the advisory of Chris Patrick, and I'm here for approval to put a trail on the properties that lie behind the Keach Fields. For those who aren't familiar, Edwin A. Keach Park is located at 49 Chestnut Street, and here it is, right, this yellow dot in relation to Chestnut Street, which is this black line here, and Massapog, Poquanticut. So the Keach Fields and the surrounding properties are where I'd like to put in some trails. I think the location would make good for access to the other bits of conservation in town. Packard Farm is another one. Beaver Brook is right down the street, and Borderland is further up Massapog. So all of the properties within this red encircling kind of area, this white piece, are town-owned, and the red areas are all private property. The Keach Fields physical end right about here, and the trail system would come in through here, touching as much high ground as is possible, which, as you can see, is here. As far as physical characteristics of the land go, it's fairly wet. Sorry about that. It's fairly wet. I'll show some photos of the area at the end. There are a couple of stretches of low fields right around here, if you can see my cursor, and a little bit more north here. But in kind of contrast to the familiar low wetlands, there are several points of high ground, which are what I deemed to make the land kind of usable for a trail and potentially really interesting. There are several areas of highland with like rock features and stuff kind of akin to that. There's also two pre-existing egresses into the property. While there isn't one at Keach Fields, there is an egress that kind of leads sort of to nowhere on Massapog, and one from a street off of Chestnut called Oakleaf Lane. It's a neighborhood, a cul-de-sac that has an egress straight into the properties, kind of where this red piece kind of juts in is. In order to use the egress in the Oakleaf Lane property, I would need to have neighborhood or association permission from there, because kind of like the line is owned. It's private property. So the proposed route would look something kind of like this. This is obviously very preliminary. The capital entrance being at Keach Fields, which has a large parking area So street parking shouldn't be any kind of concern, and it ends right about here and heads straight into the conservation, where there would be this main loop using as much high ground as possible and egressing out to Massapog and, best case scenario, also to Oakleaf Lane. The main loop would be somewhere between 1.5 and 2.5 miles, depending on how much workaround of wetlands needs to be done. The highest expected wetlands I foresee being through this stretch right here, between these two pieces of high ground. It's very low, very wet. But in walking through it several times, I do think it is still usable. With preliminary estimating using the town's Excel sheet for bridge building and cost that was provided to me by Mr. Patrick, I've determined that I'll probably need somewhere in the ballpark of 250 feet of boardwalk, which using that formula would cost around $3,900. But like I said, that's a super preliminary number. I'll be working to minimize bridge cost once if I get permission to start flagging trails. I can start by like the Eagle Scout set of rules. I can start fundraising as soon as approval from this commission happens, and from my Scout Council, fundraising could start as early as September, and flagging as soon as the trees start to lose their leaves. I have some photos I'd like to show of the properties as well, if that's all right. So this kind of first area on the map, it wouldn't necessarily be on trail, but just to kind of give some visualization to the land. It's very wet outside of the areas I've chosen to put trail. So kind of you can see it here. There's winding bodies of water. The Poquanticut Brook kind of comes through here. And yeah, the second area, right around the entrance to Fields, area 2. It also gets wet, but as you can see, this the photo on the left was taken in late April. It's pretty wet through here. This is sort of like a pre-existing ATV trail that you're sort of seeing. It doesn't go very far. And then on the left over here, it's all dried out and it's much more filled in. So the area seasonally does get pretty dry. Right now, there's very little wetlands. Most of the bridges would be just sort of like a preemptive strike against the wet that comes in the spring. The third area, this is in some of the images of the high ground. Yeah, some of the high ground in the area. This is the largest stretch of high ground. As you can see, there's some rock features. It's a lot thinner to walk through up top. There's a lot less low shrubbing. Clearing will be significantly easier. Not that I think any of the clearing will be that difficult. There was some remnants of like an old campground that could presumably some teenagers used, but that's another project. Area 4, these are some of the photos of the old carriage road that egress out to the Oakleaf Lane neighborhood. Again, some photos of like pre and post wet. The road kind of floods, you can see down here on the left. It's pretty flooded in some sections. It's still wet in some sections because water flows through this area, but the road is dug out. There'd be very little clearing at all for that quarter mile of egress. Moving out, this stretch would be pretty minimal. Area 5 is another section of higher ground. This has there's a blowdown up here in for a portion of land. There's rock features, bigger rock features, and again easier areas to come in and clear. Area 6, this is sort of the potentially problem area with some of the wet. This is what it all looks like. It's all green, all wet all year. if you can see in some of the photos, I know it's a little difficult with the lighting, but it's still pretty wet. These photos were taken in June. It's still soggy, damp, gross to walk through. So this will be where most of the bridges have to come through. And lastly, Area 7 is kind of the pinnacle high ground in the area. It would be the first chunk of high ground hikers will encounter. More rock features, nothing like crazy. And just to kind of put some of this map stuff into context, these contours are 2-foot contours, so it's not like mini mountains, but still enough to avoid some of the wet. It's dry, it's right on the edge of the wetland, so it provides a good kind of view of the distance of wet. And so with that, I'll ask, are there any questions?
Yeah, I have a couple questions for you. The bridge estimate, do you think that's a conservative estimate, or do you see that growing? Because the reason I ask is we've had a couple projects where we ended up needing some extra bridging, which we were all very supportive of, but I wouldn't want to necessarily have yourself cut yourself short on the request.
Yeah, so there's probably this is probably a relatively conservative number. Like I said, it's still really preliminary.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't gone out there and taken any kind of real distance measurements, and it'll be easier to see when flagging comes around how much more. I'd say probably at a minimum 250 feet. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So maybe like 250 to 350 feet. Give you some leeway. Another question I had on the picture you had of that area 2, where you noted some old ATV trails in April, but then in June it looked pretty well grown through. Did those ATV trails appear to be inactive in June?
No. Yes, they appear to be inactive. It looked
Cool.
more like ATV trails that were used years and years ago. It was pretty
Gotcha.
overall. I know it looks pretty used in the photo on the left, but it's really just like patches of old trail.
I don't see any like fresh tire marks or anything in there, so
yeah, no,
I was just curious about that. Have you had any talks with the Oakleaf neighborhood? Is there an HOA in that neighborhood, or who's like the authority you'd have to speak with there? Just the private landowners?
I believe there is a homeowners association in there. I haven't contacted them, but they're like, it does already egress into the property. So
yeah.
That's something I still have to talk through.
Okay.
Owen, send me an email and I can probably get the Homeowners Covenant Association, if there's a requirement through the subdivision that it be a access area to, for open space purposes, then that would be good information for you to have going into your discussion.
All right.
Great. That's all the questions I have for right now. If any of the other commissioners have questions, then we can open it up.
So is Mr. Patrick your liaison on this?
He's advising my Eagle project, so
Sure.
Called an Eagle coach.
Right, he's assisted a lot of you guys, so I know you're in good hands. So other than that, I think you've addressed all the questions. Mike or Carol?
Well, I just chimed in. I had a crazy puppy in my hands. But I've been out there myself looking. I'm obviously like 3 seconds I've been here. I mean, those woods look awesome for a new trail, so let's get it done.
Great. Carol, any questions, comments?
Okay, now I'm unmuted. Thank you. Wait, so I wasn't. Yeah, thank you. I was. My phone, bounced in and out of service, so I didn't catch the whole presentation. I really approve, and I didn't catch the Eagle Scout candidate's name. What's your name, please?
My name is Owen Eldridge.
Something Eldridge?
Owen.
Owen. Oh yes. Hey, Owen. So I didn't catch your entire presentation, but I do have a question about the kind of window you'd like to use.
The type of
What are you thinking? Yes.
Yeah, I haven't looked at anything specific, but if the commission has any kind of advisement on that, or looking into some of.
Sorry, Carl,
Right.
were you asking the time frame when you want him to do this? I couldn't quite hear you.
No, I'm sorry. I'm wondering about the type of wood that,
Oh,
that is being proposed for the, you know, for the treads and the foundation. My concern is, I mean, I'm in favor of the project overall, but I do have concerns about bringing pressure treated wood into especially sensitive areas, like in our waterways where we want to, you know, try to filter out pollution. I'm just kind of hesitant to, even if some of the treads were pre-cut, there are some when, you know, the trail goes around a bend, the boards are cut by hand on the site.
Carol, when Chris was in there on doing the Flyway project, all those scouts were pre-cutting like on a Saturday at their house, and then on a Sunday bringing it in. I mean, there were some cuts they had to do on the trail just because of angles and going around rocks and trees.
Yep.
And I know we had a few issues with some spots that were left with a fair amount of you know, chips from cutting. But we can definitely clean them. So I think going into this, even being more mindful of just cleaning it is really the best thing, and trying to do as many pre-cuts as possible is the better option. But I mean, yeah, you know, cleaning that should be pretty easy. Someone literally could just carry a tarp, cut over the tarp, and then carry the tarp out, and there's no issues at all. So
Yeah, that sounds brilliant. That sounds great. So, and then as far as the you know, the kind of wood that's used, even though, you know, if pressure treated wood was used, I mean, PT used to contain arsenic, and I've heard that it doesn't anymore, but whatever it does contain also kills living things. So I just wonder, any part of the boardwalk that could be reasonably expected to be in contact with water any time of the year, if that could be of a different material.
So I've seen trails up north that are built with maybe saying like a non-pressure treated wood, maybe something more natural as far as maybe, you know, logs that have been cut to source just for that. But then they'll hang like a metal grating over it, like a chicken wire, so you get grip. If you don't use anything pressure treated, it's just going to get slimy and wet, and people are going to get hurt. So that's the only advantage, because it's just cheaper.
Right. That's interesting. Because on my deck at home, there's PT wood, and it's really slippery when wet. So, so I'm not quite following you there.
Yeah, and again, the other option would be, you know, doing something with like a chicken wire bait top, and then do something more natural on the bottom, just so you get grip for it. But
right.
That's
that sounds like, yeah. I love that idea. I saw that when
that's just a lot more cutting and a lot more tools within the woods, you know, with gas emissions and everything else, like a chainsaw. So it's just, you know, it's hard to, I don't know which one's better than the other.
Right.
Because eventually that one's going to have more repair. That's the only problem.
Yep.
I think if we want something to last, I mean, I think that the standard has been pressure treated.
It is.
You know, even all the conservancies are using, you know, pressure treated in their bridges for trails, and even when they
I mean, when I was in California, Mount Shasta, and hiking out there, all those bridges are all pressure treated wood, and they're all about being safe and cautious, especially in California. So,
I mean, one of the things about pressure treated wood is they start with a southern yellow pine, which is already resistant to water, and then they do pressure treat it with some sort of materials. But as you said, Carol, they've changed the formula in the last 30 years so that it used to contain arsenic, and it hasn't for quite some time at this point. So,
right. Yeah, I just, you know, being, I guess I'm being hyper vigilant. Not knowing what's in it, just a little hesitant. But, you know, I am in favor of the project. I just wanted to ask.
Well, we can make sure that we require the newer pressure treated that doesn't contain arsenic, so we at least know that in an MSDS on the material, so we have that on file. And, I mean, there are other hardwoods that you could use, if, that are going to be probably more expensive, cedar and that kind of thing. So those can be options for maybe potentially sensitive areas.
Right. I mean, I think that's the problem with using a cedar is that your costs, I think, go not even double. I think they go more than that.
Yeah.
Way more. And plus, no one,
Yeah.
there's no trail system hardly any that are using cedar bridges. That would be nuts. It'd be really cool.
That'd be a very fancy trail system.
That'd be very, very swanky.
What I heard Carol suggest was perhaps it's just the footings that she's most concerned about, because we do have the detail that the Eagle Scouts follow, where there's a footing that elevates the walk itself up off the ground, and so that's the footing she's concerned about.
Right. Thanks for repeating that, Andrea.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with your concern, Carol. I think I'm comfortable with, as long as we're using the newer type of pressure treated, and we can just get a confirmation from whoever we source the wood from that it's arsenic free and that kind of thing.
Yeah, if you're talking footings to support the bridge up, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris uses a lot of rocks too, most of the time for those.
Yeah, he does.
He
You're
loves
right.
to
He
use
sources
stone.
and a source of it right in the area too, if he can.
Absolutely.
I think he has a collection.
He does. He has a secret spot. Let me tell you.
That's great.
Okay. Yeah. I just
Motion to approve Owen's project with the caveat that we try and minimize the use of pressure treated where possible and in the footings, but allow pressure treated given that it's ensuring that it's the newer material without arsenic.
Catino second. All in favor?
Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Spady, aye.
Catino, aye. All right. Thanks, Owen. Great presentation. And I'm going to be leaving the commission at the end of the month, and I just like to, while we're here recording, thank you and the rest of the Eagle Scouts, past, present, and future, for all the hard work you guys do in the town. You've really opened up some beautiful areas and done some great work. And, it's just a great service to the town to have you guys doing these projects. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And thank you for having me tonight.
So Owen,
Yeah, have a great night.
Owen, I'll be your liaison to the Conservation Commission to take care of your paperwork and keep the notifications going. And I think you probably heard that you have at least one Conservation Commission member who's going to be available on work parties whenever his dog is not coming.
Oh, the dog's coming to the work parties. Don't you worry. You guys are going to get very acquainted. She's a hiking dog, my friend. She'll be there.
Okay. And by having a Conservation Commission member on site during your work parties and having Chris Patrick be your supervisor, does the commission recognize that specific permits won't be necessary?
That is the intention, yes.
Yes. Great.
Okay.
Should we designate approval of small field changes in the project as well?
Great.
Great.
That's terrific. Between small field changes, Concom support, on field support, and my administrative support, I think that sounds like how you want the project to run.
Yeah, I think so. All right. Well, congratulations, Owen, and good luck with your planning and fundraising and building. And excited to check it out.
Yeah, thank you. Can I ask one last question really quick?
Sure. Go ahead.
Andrea, can you promote John Thomas?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No, Chris Patrick.
This last question. One more thing.
Hello?
Oh, hi, Mr. Patrick.
Hey, Chris.
What's up, Chris?
Go ahead, Owen.
Oh, sorry. The main access point to the properties is through Keach Fields, which isn't owned by. Well, it's owned by the town, but it's not conservation land. So I was wondering what do I need permission from the selectmen to kind of enter through there? Because if you look on the map, the tree line is actually like 2/3 of the way up from the street. So where the property line and the tree line don't meet super well. So
Good question. From one of the earlier preliminary meetings, Andrea, when you looked into it, was the Keach Field, did you, when you asked the selectmen, did they basically say that it's our jurisdiction? I couldn't remember exactly, but I thought I remembered something along those lines.
No, it's still it's still in the select board jurisdiction. The way
Okay.
I understood it was that with the Conservation Commission's support, Owen and I can send the proposal to the select board for their approval, which Owen probably means that they're going to want you to present at their meeting, but you'll go into their meeting with the Conservation Commission's full support.
that sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. Great question, Owen.
So should I stop screen sharing now?
Yeah, we can take it from here.
All right.
All right. Good luck in front of the select board. Hopefully, our support and approval is enough to get you through there. And I think it's another great project by you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice
Chris,
day.
did you want to add anything?
Hi, everybody. I apologize for my late arrival. I've been dispatching wire crews down in Connecticut. You may or may not have heard, but the tropical storm that missed us, for the most part, hammered Connecticut. So I didn't get a chance to see Owen's presentation, but I'll just share some quick comments. I walked this property with Owen and his father, about a month ago, maybe. And my expectation, never having set foot in this property before, was, it's going to be a wet area, typical flat easton. And boy, was I surprised. There is some really interesting landscape in there. It's got a lot of elevation change that's quick and short, and it's got, it's just a super neat area. Some of the white pines that we found in one of the areas had to be over 120 feet tall. They were huge. I am very impressed with Owen's work so far. He's really put pretty much 100% of the presentation you saw tonight, I have never seen before. So all of the work that he did on his own, with my support walking the property, my guidance on our typical processes, what he needs to do. So everything you've seen tonight, which I didn't get a chance to see, was all on Owen. So it sounds like you did a great job. I fully support this project because it's just such an interesting property. It's been pretty much just been left alone for many years. So it's just a neat spot. That's all I've got.
Great. Thanks for the commentary, Chris. And yeah, you're absolutely correct. His presentation was great. Did a really nice job connecting all the dots for us and showing the big picture and providing some supporting details along the way. It was very well done.
Great. All
right. Well, we're going to have to move on to the next project, but thank you both and to all the Eagle Scouts in the group for another awesome project. We're excited. All right, so Andrea, I'm going to call up the next one.
Yes, that's Anthony.
All right, so we've got 11 Marshal Road next up.
Right. Oh, There he is. Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. How you doing?
Good.
Good, good. Do you need us to pull anything? Do you want to share your screen and present? How would you like to do it?
I believe I know how to do that.
All right.
I'll make you I think you have to be co-host to share screen. Is that true?
That I don't. Yeah, because it's black. It's grayed out on my
Okay.
button.
Okay, there you go.
I'm just going to change the settings so all panelists can do a little share screen, so we don't have to do that next time.
You don't? Okay.
Nope.
All right, here we go. Okay.
Coming up.
All right. Let's see. So what I did is I attempted to just have. Are you able to see the screen that I'm sharing?
Yep.
Okay. I uploaded this and we had gone out and measured this in the field. And this is basically the line of where I would suggest we put wattles in. And that's the proximity of the work area to the lot line / fence, and the wetland is beyond that. The work area is around the perimeter of the building, basically about 5 feet, no more than that, is anticipated because the foundation is fairly shallow. We'd be excavating the base of the foundation to install some pile materials to support the building. Is there any details that you guys would like me to explain?
So from my perspective, we got a little baby waking up. I think that just understanding that the lawn is fairly level in this area. It's probably only about a 3-foot drop off from the house back to the fence. And then beyond that, it's fairly level even back to the BVW. So just for the commission to sort of understand, since we don't have topos on the drawing, it is a fairly level piece of property. It is all lawn all the way to the fence, and then it is wooded areas beyond the fence. From my perspective, I think given what kind of it's a machine dig around the foundation?
Generally, we start by hand. If it's anything over 2 feet, then we would use a machine, something similar to a small dingo or a mini excavator. Nothing, sizable, I would call it, because the only reason we would do anything other than a hand dig is if beyond 4 feet, by OSHA, you have to use a machine and you have to open the excavation up. I don't anticipate that because literally at the back corner of the building, you can almost see the edge of the footing. So, but I can't speak to the entire structure because sometimes the walls can step, and I'm not, there are no plans were available for the building, so I can look at it from an as-built perspective.
Okay. Well, from my perspective, the way Rory described the property and the applicant has described, the work that they need to do, sounds like it will have minimal, if no, jurisdictional impacts. And, I'm in favor of approving it.
Agreed.
Agreed. No questions from me either.
I would just like to confirm that the abutter notifications were all posted online. And Anthony, if you could please give your full name for the record.
Anthony P. Capel with Ramjack of New England.
Great. All right, so I'm going to make a motion to approve and, well, actually, is there any public comment first on 11 Marshall Road? And where are my attendees? Anybody seeing any hands raised? I've lost my view of the attendees. I moved it somewhere
Terrible.
silly.
Yeah, so.
Okay, great. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve and issue a permit to work in order of conditions for 11. RDA, a negative determination of applicability for 11 Marshall Road, Easton number 1617.
Colfell's second.
All in favor?
Colfell's aye.
Beatty,
London,
aye.
aye.
Beatty, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Carol, do you mind doing yours again? You and Mike did it at the same time there.
Sure, London, aye.
Great, and Casino, aye. All right, thank you guys. Good luck.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, you too. Have a good one. All right.
Okay, the next project is,
19 Lullaby Lane.
and I'd hoped Frank would be here, but I do not see him.
Okay. Andrew, you want to give us the rundown on the situation with this one, if you don't mind,
Sure.
please?
What I'm gonna do is share my screen so that you can see the two. Sorry. I'm gonna try to share my screen. Stop that. Okay, there we go. Okay, so 19 Lullaby Lane is the one of the projects over at Tanglewood. You gave it a can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so the house and the septic system and the retaining and the fence line around the house have all been approved previously and through a request for determination, and now he's coming back for a final. And he was here once before, but the restoration plants, these 6 dark areas here, the shrubs were not, they were put in, but they were small. They weren't well maintained, and they didn't make it through a growing season. So you can see the letter on the left side of the screen is from the professional engineer agreeing that the plantings were done. However, at some point between the time of the final as-built survey and the plan and now, the new plants were removed. Would like the commission's approval to put back the same plants as they were originally installed, put them in same locations as originally proposed, and we are proposing to monitor for a frequency and duration specified by the commission. Well, the frequency and duration specified by the commission the first time was 75% success after 2 growing seasons, with monitoring reports to be submitted at the end of each growing season. I just want to remind the commission, I know Rory's fully aware, they actually were planted, but they were so small, and they didn't have any cages or protective area around them, that they were basically weed whacked down along with everything else around it. So I think it's a management issue, and the new landowners are not the applicant. This is this has been the responsibility of the builder to finalize the order. So I seek your guidance on how to move forward.
So from my perspective, he doesn't need our approval to do anything that we've already given him approval to do. He just needs to do it. And I think that's what we said in June, was we needed him to do it. We actually continued it at that point, but I don't know that, I mean, certainly from my perspective, I don't know that my position on this has changed, in the sense that we have in writing from him that he's going to do it, but we already had that once. I don't know that we had a monitoring report at all at any time until they went to a certificate of compliance on this. So I don't, there hasn't been a lot of action on this in the 2 months it's been open. Not that we'd want them planting this time of year anyway, but. So
Sorry,
I'm actually inclined to deny the certificate of compliance and make him refile when he's prepared to do so.
I think I'd agree with you there, Rory.
Same, I'm on board with that.
That sounds good to me too.
I can issue a letter of, in not approving it, I can issue a letter of non-compliance. You know, you're on notice that this is out of compliance.
And I don't think we've had any problems with this developer up until now. I mean, this piece of property has been a little bit challenging because they had to fix some of the grading. They went way high and up and over the actual erosion control, if you remember. You know, the soil was actually overtopping the erosion control at the base of the slope. But you know, I'm inclined to just say it's not a problem. You know, when you're ready, refile and we'll get this done. So I make a motion to deny the certificate of compliance for 19 Lullaby Lane.
I'm a second.
Catino. Oh, there we go. Thomas second. All those in favor?
Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Beatty, aye.
I'm a aye.
Catino, aye. All righty. Next up, selection of officers. So I'm going to go ahead and renew my motion from before because nothing has changed on my end. I'm going to make a motion to vote for Rory Caulfield as chairman of the Conservation Commission.
Thomas second.
All those in favor? Or any discussion?
Beatty, aye.
Thomas aye.
Lundin, aye.
Catino, aye. Great.
Get nervous there for a second.
Thanks for taking over, Rory.
Rory, did you vote?
Yeah, Caulfield's aye. So.
There you go.
We need a vice chair, and I'd like to make a motion to have Mike Spadia.
Thomas second.
All those in favor?
Mike, since there was discussion about this last time, you're on board, right?
I'm on board.
Okay.
Great.
Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Thomas aye.
Catino, aye.
Mike, you got a vote?
Thanks for taking on that
I do.
responsibility,
Stadia,
Mr.
aye.
Stadia.
Thank you guys for the opportunity. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah. All right, and then we already took care of Carol's vote last week, right, for rep on the community preservation.
PPP. Yep.
Perfect. All right. Thank you guys for carrying on the torch. I'm glad we have a good solid core left over here.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Stefan.
Yeah. All right, Andrea, planner updates. What do you got for us? Anything good? Juicy?
Just a short, if you haven't seen the map of Tripoli, the area of high risk has expanded around the Carter, Middleborough area to include 11 towns with elevated risk. Easton is still considered a low risk for Tripoli, but we have gotten an order from the State Mosquito Control Board that the State Department of Public Health has issued a certification that Tripoli requires pesticide application for protection of public health. So Folks who have asked to be exempted out are not exempt when there is a public health declaration. So we don't know specifically when we're on notice that Easton will be getting sprayed for equine encephalitis, and Board of Health will be our direct contact with that. On a happier note, the Municipal Vulnerabilities Grant that we have to remove the concrete abandoned structures at Sam Wright Field has got an existing survey conditions plan, and we are in the process now of doing a wetland restoration plan to pull out fill and pull out the concrete structures. And the notice of intent will be prepared with my assistance and with the Conservation Commission as the applicant, myself as the agent, to ask that we create this wetland restoration for increased flood capacity, rather than just use the FEMA flood zone maps for the flood capacity. We're actually using advanced information to increase the flood capacity to project for sea level climate change expanded storms. We did expect the notice of intent to be filed toward the very end of August, with a hearing either at the beginning of September, beginning or end of September, with planting this fall. We did, as you know, get technical assistance to support our monitoring of the restoration plan, and we do have two wetland professionals coming in to take a look at the site next week to assist Brad Holmes in preparing the restoration plan. So they will also help with the monitoring and training any Concom members who would like to be monitors of this wetland area. So I think your project is in good hands.
Congratulations, Andrea, on all your work on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, big time.
So those are the only updates since last week.
Great. Anybody have anything they want to bring up before we adjourn and, a little record time meeting here? Seeing nothing. All right. We'll go ahead and make a motion to adjourn.
Paulfell's second.
All those in favor?
Paulfell's aye.
Spady, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Catino, aye. All right, you guys. Have a great night. I'll see you in a couple weeks.
See you soon, guys.
All right, take care.
Good night. Thanks for both.
Thanks, Andrea, ECAT, Fish.
Oh, thank you, Stefan, for all your time.